Hello out there, everybody, and welcome into the second half of this evening's doubleheader. Thanks for sticking around if you just watched the Sunday Weekly and the conclusion of the Sunday Weekly League, but right now, the conclusion of the quarterfinal round, the Co-op Challenge Cup. We've got Surf and Turf versus the Can-Am Surprise. Surf and Turf, Big Slamu and Nim and Va. Can-Am Surprise, Juef, and Camion Renikai. I'm Archfield. Joining me tonight, one member of the Destorius duo, Destiny of a Dragon Warrior. Hello, Destiny.
Hello, Archfield. Very excited for another round of co-op here to wrap up the quarterfinals. If we're new to co-op, may have some folks here hanging out from the Sunday Weekly that haven't seen much Dragon Warrior co-op randomizer. The teams are going to be sharing most of their items besides herbs. They share all of their weapons and armor as well. They share experience and gold. They learn the same spells. They might have slightly different stats depending on their name builds. And ultimately, they need to go through the same progression of finding the 3 story items to build the Rainbow Bridge, to cross over, get to Charlotte Castle, and defeat the Dragon Lord. But there'll be a slightly different way of defeating the Dragon Lord that we'll see here as we continue on, most likely.
Yeah, entirely possible. Lots of stuff going on so far as that goes. We do have a situation here where we have started with some gold in the throne room, so you're going to see our racers with 2 keys leave one of the runners in the throne room momentarily to use one of those keys to go to the back door and purchase more keys. Whether or not this will immediately yield dividends, we're not sure, because there actually aren't many chests in the treasury, it looks like.
Yeah, the co-op tournament here features a few different flags from standard Dragon Warrior Randomizer. One of his random chest locations. We picked up a cursed belt, which gives us a little bit of information. Looks like there is a chest across the barrier tiles in the back that Slamu is going to cross over, and it's just more gold. Are we going to see someone check the basement of Tantasia before heading out? We are. Here goes Jeff down to see what's underneath. Maybe. It is the Stones Cave and is completely empty, up to 3 chests in there, and it is nothing. Meanwhile, Camion takes out our first enemy, and you see the Magician earned us 5 experience and 7 gold. That's another one of the flags that is different from standard and co-op here, is that random but consistent XP and gold is turned on. So although we don't know exactly how much XP and gold enemies are going to give, it generally is consistent where weaker enemies will give less XP and gold, and stronger enemies towards the end of the game will give higher XP and gold.
Yeah, so we're seeing a lot of that right now in some of the co-op stuff going on. Slamu, and by the way, I had Slamu and Nim inverted. I realized that I had a Taloon in the top spot and a Purple Mario in the bottom spot, so I had to switch their video really quick. But that is Slamu gold grinding right now. Because there were 4 chests in Tangel, that chest glitch is active. So they're going to pick up some money on spec, hoping that Nim can maybe find a town before they take a death and lose some of that gold.
Instead finds a cave instead of a town. It is Swamp North, immediately exits, even though there are a couple of chest checks to do in there. The Nim is doing exactly that, beelining for a town. We see one here on screen. It's Rimalder, so there is a weapon shop here to possibly use up that gold.
Looks like some decent stuff on offer. Nim's going to grab full plate for Surf and Turf, as well as a copper sword. Interestingly enough, Can-Am Surprise has picked up level 3 just as Surf and Turf picks up level 3. And you see the stats are picking up a little bit, strength is getting higher, but more importantly got some spells on the way too. Sleep as of level 2, and then Radiant and Heal as of level 3. Radiant can be really useful in these seeds because of the random chest locations. There's a lot of dark spots and caves that can have chests, so having that early is nice.
Exactly. Even though Permanent Torch is on, as we have in Standard these days, having Radiance helps us to peek at a lot of the random chest locations. Early heal and heal more will help the teams be able to grind out some enemies beyond the beginning zone, especially with Slamu and Nineveh on the left getting that full plate armor. They'll be defense breaking a lot more enemies potentially than the team of Jeff and Camion at this point.
Yeah, Nim takes a look. The other town that was down here was Breckenary. There is a flame sword there, but they are just short of the gold they would need to pick that up. Not a huge deal at the moment. As you said, that extra defense is helping them out a lot. They got 4 speed on that level, so they're now breaking virtually everything in the starting zone, 0, 1, and 2, everything but a wolf right now. So that's really helpful. No chests in Breckenary, I don't think. Didn't see one in the inn there.
Is this a new town on Jeff's screen that he's making his way to through the swamp tiles?
I think that might be Breckenary. Yeah.
It is Breckenary, okay. Well, he's got a little bit of gold, might be able to get one of the smaller weapons here. There's a copper sword. Yep, that's what he has his eyes on, so a little bit more offense for Jeff and Camion.
Now, interestingly enough here, I think Slamu and Nim are just doing a really quick slow grind. There are 2 gold chests in the back of Tanagel, so that's worth about 1,200, 1,300 gold. And then Slamu picked up the cursed belt again from the treasury, so they're just on the verge of being able to afford that flame sword, and I think Slamu just has to take one more trip through Tanagel in order to get the best weapon money can buy.
Yeah, that seems like a really good idea at this point. You have some good offense, you have some good defense, you have some healing spells. You can take on quite an array of enemies with that. You see Nimenva talking to a lot of the townsfolk. One of the flags that is also on part of the unofficial draft extension that we have is Valid Hints, where in the original game you talk to some of the NPCs and they'll tell you, give some clues of where some towns and information is, and in the randomizer they'll just say the exact same thing even though towns are in all different directions. It's not very helpful, but it's updated now where if you speak to the NPCs they'll tell you in which direction certain towns are to get some information of some general orientation, especially some key locations like Hawksness and the Rainbow Drop Trading Cave.
Yeah, exactly. The hint that Nim got there in Breckenary was that Garenham was to the south, so it'll be somewhere to the south of Breck, and closer to the south compass point than to either east or west. So it could still be off to the side a little bit, but, you know, in general, it's going to be to the south. Both teams on level 5 now. But Surf and Turf, of course, with much better equipment, they've got that flame sword and full plate to their credit, whereas Can-Am Surprise on Copper Sword and Chainmail, a little bit trickier. And this wolf looks like it has sleep, so a good early game enemy that you might want to fight is a little bit troublesome. And it looks like Jeff may be doing some extra slow gold grinding here too, perhaps with a purchase in mind, out of the back of Tanagel.
Yeah, the reason why Dref and Camion don't have a gold grind available, but Slamu and Nimenva did, is because it has to do with the very beginning of the game in which you pirouette back up into the throne room, where you open up the 3 chests and then you go back up and it re-registers those 3 chests as open again, and now you've already had 6 of the 9 required chests open for the glitch to be activated. Meanwhile, here, without full resetting the game, that isn't available to Dref and Camion, so that gold grind at the moment was only available very early in the game and without exiting Tantagel. They might be able to take advantage of that later on as they go into caves and towns and open up chests and take a death back, but so far just a slow gold grind, and they won't be able to pile up to the flame sword and full plate that Slamu and Nimenva have equipped themselves with.
Yeah, you would only need 2 chests in order to have enough to trigger the glitch on 1 chest in Tanagel, and that's all you need to get a gold grind. So we could even see there's the potential that, say, Cole or Cantlin might have 2 chests, and those are both places that if you don't have armor, you can either die on swamp or barrier tiles. So there are even some potentials in this flag set to trigger some gold grinds, some chest glitches, even without having to enter a dungeon.
Yeah, you see, even though Slamu and Nimenva took some additional time to do the shopping and get the gold, they have shot out ahead on experience, over 100 experience ahead of Jeff and Kamiya at the moment, or right around 100. Another feature to note that's different than what we're used to seeing with standard Dragon Warrior Randomizer is the experience thresholds to earn levels is going to be equivalent to the vanilla game rather than adjusted to 75% that we see in standard of Dragon Warrior. So it takes a little bit more experience to gain levels, but you have double the people sharing that experience fighting enemies potentially to get to that.
And so with their equipment, Surf and Turf is picking up levels pretty quickly. That next level, level 8, will come at 800 experience points, and with this south zone, the skeletons, as you saw on screen there on the tracker, are a bit pesky. They do have that Hurt More spell, and with the HP where it is right now, our runners can very frequently be one-shot by that, although it's at the very top of that range. But still, with that Flame Sword and the equipment that they have breaking all of these enemies, Surf and Turf is really chewing through this starting zone, and the wolves are pretty valuable, so they're pretty rapidly building a solid XP lead here in the early going.
Yeah, it's definitely still very early in the race. We don't have any key items that have been found yet, but it feels like the Can-Am Surprise team is going to need some sort of an advantage to be able to propel themselves forward to keep up with the gold-grinded equipment that Surf and Turf has afforded themselves. Could be Erdrick's sword or Erdrick's armor, or stumbling upon a more efficient grind than what Surf and Turf is working on here.
I think that was level 8 for Surf and Turf, and that was a pretty big level. I think it was 18.5, 17.7 or something along those lines. In any event, it was a lot of stats, and you can see Surf and Turf, both runners, Slamu and Nimenva, are both running HP MP builds, so their HP and MP will grow at slightly faster rates. That build is much more viable in co-op, where you can have some alternate paths to victory at the end of the seed via fairy water. So both runners for Surf and Turf taking that today, but even with that, the other stats are still looking pretty good on level 8. Camion doing the chest check in South Swamp there. Found Swamp Cave, but did not get very far before he was taken out by a stone man.
It's always frustrating to take a stone man death when you have the sleep spell in tow and they ambush you, or you have low HP and get taken out like that.
Yeah, it's an unpleasant one. If you get the jump on those stone men, most of the time you can just put them to sleep if you have sleep and get away, but didn't quite get so fortunate that time. And Juef here has picked out, I think, a spot similar to where Slamu was grinding. This is in the hills just outside of Charlock. He eventually shifted to kind of south of the castle there, but there are still some pretty good encounters in this zone.
Nimenva doing the same checks through Swamp Cave and now exits Swamp Cave, doesn't back into Garenham, takes us out into some desert and doing some more exploration, see what the zone is all about, see if there is more locations nearby to find. Meanwhile, we have dueling metal slime battles with Slamu and Kamiya. Now, sometimes we get excited and see, ooh, metal slimes, we can possibly hit them 3 times and get 255 experience. Well, not so much with these flags. With the random but consistent XP on, metal slimes are treated as a mid-tier enemy and are not nearly as valuable as they potentially can be in standard. Golems are the same way. There's a couple of enemies like that are less favorable than usual, golems and metal slimes, and a few other enemies that are more favorable than usual. Specifically, goldmen actually provide pretty decent experience.
Yeah, so the spread of enemies that you want to fight are definitely a little bit different than they would be normally. I will point out Nim is in Tablet Cave, 3 possible chest locations here, but I think I have a suspicion what Camion was just trying to do. He had gone through Swamp Cave and had pulled the top chest, but gone back into Swamp Cave, and then pulled the top chest and was heading toward the bottom chest when he got taken out by a stone man again, which was quite unfortunate. Those are all the chests that he would need in order for Can-Am Surprise to trigger a chest glitch in Tanager if he's able to die out of Swamp Cave after getting those 2, so this might be what Can-Am Surprise is looking to do right at the moment.
Nimivah has found the town of Cole, baby, and his partner Slamu has found the town of Hawksness, quote-unquote town. So some more discoveries here. There is a chest in the inn as well as a search spot. We'll see if there's any treasure guards here. That would indicate the key item. Speaking of keys, we got another key there in the inn. Slamu gets sent back home before seeing the Hawksness spike tile. There is a treasure guard on the coal spike. Let's see if we can get through this Star Wyvern. Should it be a problem as long as it doesn't have any sneaky abilities?
Yeah, with Healmore here, this is definitely a winnable fight. We'd expect him to get through this, and he does. And that will be the Silver Harp. So it's nice, of the quest items, that one's always nice to find early, because you never know when you're going to have to trade that early. But it looks like no chest on the west side for Nim, so he's just going to leave. Oh, and yeah, and one of our trackers, RG, I do want to point out Artorius and RG doing the tracking for us today, and RG points out that Slamu had just found the Staff of Rain Cave, so he's going to be able to trade that harp right away that Nim just got out of coal.
It's always very convenient. We saw Jeff peek into Hawksness and immediately exited, and found another town here, Garenham. And Camion going once again, possibly trying to set up that gold grind. We see him again in Swamp Cave, just as you noted, Archfield.
Yeah, he pulled that top chest. All he has to do is get the top chest and the bottom chest in Swamp Cave, and if he takes the death out of here, he will have triggered the chest glitch. We do have a little bit of lag there on Jeff's side, but I saw a dragon scale at least, and there is one other chest location occupied. Oh no, I'm not sure if Camion got to that chest again this time. I think maybe he got taken out by that stone man one more time.
Oh, that's so unfortunate. Meanwhile, Jeff does find a treasure guard here in the back of Garenham. Again, it's a Wraith Knight. Put it to sleep. Should be able to take it down.
There's the potential of a valuable item here, of course, but I would be remiss if I did not mention that if Juef wanted to, he could take a Death Warp off that Wraith Knight and then head back to start, but as it turns out, maybe the gold grind isn't as important now because that was Erdrick's sword under that Wraith Knight.
That's exactly what we were talking about earlier, that Can-Am Surprise needed something to pull them ahead, and that may have been about as good of a find as they could have gotten there with Erdrick's sword.
Yeah, it obviates the need for the gold grind, so Camion's free to kind of go back and explore some other places as they kind of consider their next move at this point. With that sword up to 90 attack power for Juef, who's running a strength HP build, and HP MP for Camion.
Got a blue dragon on the Hawksness spike. Slamu, again, should be able to damage race this down, and we'll get a peek of what is underneath Hawksness, or if there's anything under Hawksness at all.
Yeah, I think we've seen the one cursed belt so far, and that's accounted for by the coal search that we saw on Nim's side. Those blues rolled down to 137.
And it's just the fairy flutes underneath, which is even more useless in the co-op with golems not giving much experience, probably 50, 60, 70 experience. But Jeff did see a cursed belt, I believe, a second cursed belt in the back of Garenham.
Ah, okay, very good. So we know about 2 occupied search spots, but we have now cleared 2 search spots from at least our perspective with Slamu's flute get in Hawksness.
It should be noted, I don't think we explicitly explained it, but even though we can't hear any talking besides you and I and some of the game music, currently the two teams are able to communicate with one another as they're playing, so they're able to share information and coordinate strategies with one another.
Yeah, exactly. Very frequently, co-op teams will even share screens with one another so that they can see kind of what's going on. As long as you can keep track of 2 players at once, then you're in mostly good shape. But I think Camion's back into Swamp Cave here. So I think Can-Am Surprise is just bent on getting this gold grind taken care of, and hopefully he's able to trigger it this time. But that sword advantage might be short-lived, as Slamu has found Garenham. And as we've seen, they're capable of taking out with their current attack power and on level 9 and heal more, they can, get through any potential treasure guard that might be around, or spike tile for that matter. So this should be quick work for Slamu in the back of Garenham here.
Yeah, unfortunately, Cam-Am surprised the Erdrick sword find a few minutes before Surf and Turf didn't really pay off that much. They weren't able to do much with it in that time, and Slam was about to take out the Wraith Knight and pick up Erdrick's sword. Oh, these stone men for Camion. This is unbelievable, the amount of stone men deaths that he has been taken.
I think that one maybe, I saw him go for the dragon scale at the end of that one, so I think he did get the final chest finally.
Finally, so that was an intentional death. He now has the gold grind initiated, assuming that he opens the chest in the correct order. Which both chests in the back were gold, so
right.
Don't think there's a way to mess this one up.
Yeah, pretty straightforward. It's a little bit foolproof. As long as you grab the treasury chest first, then you're in great shape. So yeah, gonna take the barrier chest first and then head across to the other one. Meanwhile, Nim, I think this is our first sighting of Grave, and there is one random chest location on the west side of Grave here that was just a torch.
I'm curious if we'll see a dive of Grave. It is plausible. Surf and Turf does have keys. They have outside. There are 4 chests out after the first level here.
Yeah, and you know what? They've seen 2 search spots already. They've seen a lot of towns, and so they have knowledge of the chest locations there. So, how many chests are left really? And the answer to that is not a ton. There are, I guess, the chests in Mountain Cave, wherever Mountain Cave might be hiding. And we're kind of getting down low here. We didn't see any chests. Stone's Cave was empty. Tablet Cave was empty. So 2 locations that usually have chests didn't have anything. So they're kind of running out of search places already, and they're still down Erdrick's armor and 2 quest items. So I don't blame them at all for wanting to go ahead and dive Grave here.
Yeah, I like that decision as well. Especially with co-op, you've got your partner that's still out there exploring and fighting enemies, so even if it doesn't come up with any results, it doesn't feel like as bad of a time investment as it might feel in solo standard Dragon Warrior randomizer.
Yeah, exactly. When you can cover your bases 2 ways like this, you can just hedge your bets without really losing anything, and that's extremely helpful. So if there is anything here in Grave, this will be another leg up for Surf and Turf, who are about to hit level 11 here on Slamu's side. Uh, 2-1-11-2 was that level, no new spells.
Certainly still probably a couple of levels away from even thinking about going, but seeing that HP boost is certainly promising.
Yeah, the HP is pretty close. Here in co-op, you really just need enough hit points and magic to be able to take Fairy Water runs the Dragon Lord and get to the Dragon Lord with enough resources to finish the job. So the go mode is a little bit different than usual, and as I've mentioned earlier in the seed, Surf and Turf running both HP MP builds really with that goal in mind. You're going to try to get to 80 plus MP and 97 plus hit points. You really want more than that if you can help it, but strictly speaking, Dragonlord 2 fight is winnable on those stats, so they're not very far away from that.
Yeah, you certainly like as much agility as you can possibly get to help with the Sharlock dive, and you need a certain amount of attack power to get through the Sharlock Spike enemy as well as the first form of the Dragon Lord, but the main go stat barriers are the HP and MP, because what we'll see most likely is one team member fighting the Dragon Lord by throwing fairy waters at him, dealing between 9 to 16 damage, and the other partner will be either in the town of Breckenary or Cantlin, repeatedly buying fairy waters for them over and over and restocking the inventory, since the teams can share their inventory.
Exactly, so there are multiple routes to this. We did see just now, I think Can-Am Surprise were able to purchase their Silver Shield. I was a little bit worried when Camion took that death, but the other best available armor was that full plate, so now they do have a little bit of an equipment advantage with that 10 extra defense over Surf and Turf. But Surf and Turf does have a 2400 experience point advantage right now, and they're making very fast work of this exploration. Nim's almost at the bottom of Grave.
Yeah, if you try to think about it, of what would be best case scenario for Can-Am Surprise at this point, of course stumbling upon Erdrick's armor before Surf and Turf would be helpful, and possibly finding a very efficient grind, maybe one of the bottom Sharlock enemies that may have rolled up in experience, like an Axe Knight or Armor Knight or Green Dragon, that they might be able to chop down with their attack power and heal more. Some of those enemies can roll up over 200 experience and become a very efficient grind.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's kind of their route forward here. Our tracker RG pointing out that there was not a single random chest location in the grave dive for Nim. So it looks like Nim is just going to look to try to take a death out of here. Not very productive.
That's what we get for saying that, yeah, I agree with that move. That makes sense. Of course, it comes out with no results.
Yeah, well, the process is important, right? And I think that was the correct decision. It just didn't pay out this time. But what it does tell Surf and Turf, having seen as much as they've seen, and I think we see it right now on their screen, Slamoo is pretty close to Swamp Cave. And he's clearing the spike tile right now, which is a 138 green. You keep that in your back pocket as he gets level 12, 01685. But I think they want to check this chest location and possibly pre-rescue the princess, because one of the locations we have not seen yet, one of the few locations they have not seen, is Cantlin. But it looks like he's just checking the chest location and possibly having some second, third, and fourth thoughts about whether or not he wants to rescue Princess Gwaelin here.
Gwaelin's in there, come save me, please help me! And Slam's like, alright.
There goes Waluigi darting back and forth in the corridor again. We don't know what he's up to, but it can't be good.
She's so happy.
I'll take her word for it. So what this does for Surf and Turf, they are, having rescued the princess, you can see that Nim is also carrying the princess, so now it's just a race to see who is closest to Tangel. It looks like Nim is going through Swamp Cave, so I guess it's not him. Slamoo's going to be the one to return Gwaelin here. But Can-Am Surprise, Camion also making the Gwaelin chest check, and also considering probably between the two of them whether or not they're going to rescue Gwaelin right now, and the answer to that question is yes.
I love the hesitation by both teams.
They're like, do we really want to do this? I guess. If you haven't seen Cantlin yet, it's a pretty good idea.
Yeah, that's the decision, right? Is it going to be valuable to preemptively and count on the coordinates being something that you need, that there are coordinates, and that it's coordinates that you're not going to want to count? Because even if there are coordinates, they could be something like 5 north and 3 west, and it's like, oh, we didn't need Gwaelin for that, what a waste. Waste a few seconds returning her, and then at the end of the game, additional text to go through, but same move made by both teams here.
Yeah, speaking of those coordinates, Nim is in Cantland, so Slamu's actually holding position where he is to see what these are so that he can ping that GPS and find out whether he's close, depending on where these coordinates are. But there were no chests in Cantland. So now we're down to Mountain Cave and coordinates or bust.
10 north, 20 east. Totally needed Gwaelin for that, right?
Yeah, for sure. The nice thing is, though, I will say, in co-op, it's a little bit less important if you can kind of route that princess rescue in a good way. It doesn't cost you as much because one of the considerations, if you're playing solo, is that that does take up an inventory slot. So if you need some fairy water at the end of the seed, that can be important. In this dynamic, because you're sharing inventory, you really just need one open inventory slot. You'll have more than that by the end. And you can still just load fairy water and take on the Dragon Lord. So it's not as big a deal as it might be otherwise. Just the time it takes to rescue the princess is really the only downside to this.
That's very true. The fairy flute and now Gwaelin's love that they're holding, not going to be a drawback. And you saw Slamu immediately use the GPS, find out that he was a few steps away from the coordinates, and picked up the Stones of Sunlight right there. So even though it wasn't a difficult count, he didn't have to go back home and initiate the count. He ended up being pretty close to it and just took a couple of steps and took care of that pretty quickly.
Yeah, so now for Surf and Turf, they're down to, they still need a quest item. They're looking for Mountain Cave, and all the time it's looking more and more likely that armor could be in Charlock in one of those random chest locations, but we'll need to find Mountain before we know that for sure. There are a bunch of chest locations in there, of course, and as I say it, there's Nim in Mountain Cave.
Did Dref take out the Spike in Hawksness? Looked like he was going there, and now I see him leaving, but I didn't see the fight where he took it down and picked up the flute.
Unfortunately, I missed whether or not he went to the Spike tile right away. But given he's leaving, I expect that, the Spike tile was not difficult to beat, so I think he probably got it. But RG pointing out that's the third belt in Mountain Cave that Nim just got.
Okay, so that verifies the information. All search spots have something on them, even if it is something like the Fairy Flute and Hawksness.
Yeah, so I think Slamu is in Swamp Cave. And he's going to take the turn toward the Spike tile, so I think he's going to start grinding while Nim takes care of the rest of this homework. We know that the last quest item, or at least Surf and Turf knows, and from our perspective of course too, but Surf and Turf knows that the last quest item must be in here. So if Nim steps on a chest and gets an encounter, that's going to be one of two things. Either Erdrick's armor, or Erdrick's token. Both of them would be very welcome sights, but we know that the token for sure has to be here. Armor might still be in Charlock.
Did we see Tablet Cave?
Nim saw Tablet Cave, and he dug it, and there were no chests. So it's funny, both the caves that usually have that single chest had nothing. There were no caves in Stones, and there were no caves in Tablet. There are no chests in Tablet.
Wow, okay. Well, that certainly very highly makes it likely that armor is going to be in Charlock. We'll find out shortly here as Nim finishes clearing Mountain Cave, as soon as he gets past this annoying metal slime. There we go.
Just a gold chest there for Nim. No encounter. No encounter on this one either, so odds are dwindling. There are only 3 chest locations left. We do see one in the nook just to the southwest of him, and there is one in the usual chest 5 location. Nim, you can see, stepped on that chest and then stepped off, and as I mentioned, the treasure guards will indicate that there's a key item there, so if you step on a chest at this point of the seed for him, he doesn't care about what's in that chest if there's nothing there. And I guess there's only that one chest left, so that, I'm pretty sure has to be the token, unless I missed something.
There it is.
Demon Knight's one and done, and Surf and Turf is the first team to have all 3 quest items. They just need to trade those at the Rainbow Drop Cave to gain access to the game's final dungeon, Charlock Castle, and they are, I would say at this point, in firm command of this seed. They've got about a 3,000 experience point lead, Slamoo's already grinding, and they've just got to trade for the drop and get to go mode, and they'll be ready to dive.
And with the stats where they are with HP and MP, they'll likely want at least 1 more heal more, if not 2, but HP is fine, agility 75, that's reasonable to get through Charlock, 113 attack power is enough to take out the Spike and DL1, so they're pretty close. They might get it here on level 14. And knowing Slamoo and Niminva's playstyle, I feel that they are a bit more likely to be aggressive and go on a quote-unquote questionable marginal go level. I feel like that's in a bit of their nature, so I'm feeling like level 14 might be the answer.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with you. I think if they get that 1 magic point here, I think that would be all it would really take, is to say, you know what, we've got 10 heal mores now, and we've got over 110 hit points. We feel pretty good about this. Slamoo just needs to take out 1 more green dragon, and he has 1 more heal more left, so this should do it, and we'll know at 14 is time to go. Right now, Camion is in Grave. He's only got 5 MP left, so I'm not sure if Can-Am Surprise will be diving this the whole way, even if they want to, necessarily. We'll find out soon. But Juef in Cantlin as well.
Did you see that level? 0 HP, 1 MP. I need to just stop talking and cursing everything that happens.
That is, I guess, technically go. They have 80 magic points, they have 112 hit points. Interestingly enough, on an HP MP build, they have 84 strength and 124 attack power, which is honestly way more than you really need to finish the seed. It's nice to have, don't get me wrong, it'll make this boss Spike in Charlock faster, it'll make DL1 faster, but this is probably a level that is maybe just slightly too thin for their tastes, and I think we do see Nim grinding some greens here to try to get another level and some more resources. But they still, remember, have to dig out, as Artorias is just pointing out in chat, they have to dig out the armor too, so there's also an armor dive to think about in conjunction with this.
That's very true. Not going to single dive on 80 MP. Camion is hanging out here in Grave and wanted to see what the coordinates were, and it looks like Camion is beginning a dive down into Grave, which we know is not going to result in anything useful for them, unfortunately. So you were hoping for their sake that the low MP was going to deter Camion from diving Grave, but he's going in that direction.
Yeah, so Camion will continue this dive. I think they were talking about, because it was just as Juef was getting the coordinates, and I think they were trying to ascertain who would be closer to those coordinates. So Camion might have left if the coordinates were closer to him, but I think they're much closer to where Juef is right now, as Can-Am Surprise is going to get level 12. Nim's making pretty quick work of these greens. In the meantime, Slamoo has picked up the Rainbow Drop, and he's going to refill on keys, which is very prudent. A lot of the routes to the chests in the upper reaches of Charlock, as well as 3 of the chest locations on the bottom floor, are all key blocked. So if you have full keys and you don't take a death, you can find all of your chests out of there. So full keys is usually required if you have to dig something out of Charlock. And I think that's Mountain Cave on Juef's side, so Can-Am Surprise might have the rest of their quest items soon as well.
That'll close the gap for them quickly. It looked like, from what I was counting of Slamu's key purchases, they may have been completely out of keys. I believe Slamu purchased 6 keys. Haven't seen either team kill a red dragon. I saw Druff take a death to a red dragon, so we don't know how much they're worth. They certainly roll down. It's just a question of how much they roll down as far as experience. And yeah, I don't believe Can-Am has seen Cole either, so they still got some work to do, it seems, as Kamion is working his way through Grave, and Slamu drops the Rainbow Drop, builds the bridge to enter Charlotte Castle.
I think this green is going to get Surf and Turf level 15. And does. That's 2, 4, 16, and 9. So another heal more in the tank, as well as 128 hit points. This is kind of an interesting one, because even on the HPMP build, if they had Death Necklace, I suppose that would be slightly outstripping Fairy Water strength, but I think Fairy Water strats are still much better here because of the cushion that HP will give you. It's right on the very edge of Death Necklace eligibility. But I guess the main takeaway from that one is that when Juef hits level 15 on the Strength HP build, he would be Ultra Go with the Death Necklace.
It'll be interesting to see if that comes into play. Another thing to note is the difference of Druff and Kamion picking up a silver shield versus the large shield that Slamu and Nimenva have. They're still under 80 defense. Not a big factor, but leaves them vulnerable to a few more attacks against both DL2 as well as the enemies that they find along the way, although the Axe Knight there with Hurt isn't going to be much of a threat.
No, it's always nice to see one of those big run blockers with a weaker ability. So, yeah, we've got Slamu has proceeded to the usual entrance. Nim is going to dig the side staircase here, and there are 2 potential chests in the room in which he is currently. It's just a wings, so nothing there. Other chest location is empty, so left side staircase is clear. And I think Kamion has finished digging Grave, just as Juef finishes digging Mountain Cave, so Can-Am Surprise will get their first quest item on the board with that token. So
even without them seeing what's happening on the other team's side of Surf and Turf, it's got to feel like for the Can-Am Surprise that this seed has just been slogging along.
Yeah, I would have to think, there was a couple things, just the couple of Stone Man deaths before Kamion was able to trigger that gold chest glitch. Just really has to feel like you're a little bit set back, particularly when you know that there may have been a gold grind available at the beginning of the seed that you could take advantage of, so they're probably feeling a little bit behind the 8-ball right now, and still have a couple of quest items to pick up 42 minutes into this one. And they know they're going up against the top seed from the other conference. You know, Surf and Turf is very good. So I think if I were in their shoes, I'd feel a little bit at minimum behind right now as Surf and Turf continues to dig out Charlock. We did see RG noting that there was nothing at the Vanilla Sword location. You can see that chest location using Radiant going through Basement 2. So there was nothing there on that one. And Nim's going to dig out the right side stair. There are a couple, I guess 3 chest locations on this floor. As well as... oh, and there's the Death Necklace, interestingly enough. Artorias. Yes, my apologies, Destiny. I did not mean to... indicate that Surf and Turf had more points than you. They're the top seed on Tiebreaker.
Thank you for that important clarification, Artorias. Appreciate it.
Alright, so Nim has finished clearing this floor. Armor not yet located, but Slamu has just reached the final basement. There are 3 locked rooms here, as well as the beach chest. So no pyramid here because everything's strewn all about the place. Dragonlord hasn't cleaned up in a while, it's just shoved in closets. But this is going to be the armor, because that's a knight, which we do not usually see in Charlock. That is a treasure guard.
And we see Nim and Va immediately leaving Charlock, getting ready to go heal up and begin a dive. So, efficient movement, they've got their armor, they've just got to top off and head back in. I wonder if we'll see simultaneous dives from the team, and whoever gets to the Dragon Lord first takes it on, and the other throws fairy waters. Meanwhile, Can-Am Surprise did get their second quest item. Camion counted the coordinates and picked up the Stones of Sunlight.
Very nice work on that one. They are also level 13. So just have one more bit of homework to do. That's finding coal so they can grab that silver harp. But Surf and Turf is full go now. They have armor. They're probably both, like you said, they've both exited to refresh resources, and I expect to see a double dive in this situation, and whoever gets to the bottom first in good enough shape to take on the Dragonlord is probably going to be the one to take the fight.
Well, Nimenval's not getting very far, getting put to sleep by the Axe Knight. Slamu's already passed him up.
Yeah, that did not take long. Nim had a little bit of a lead, but just got passed by Slamu. Pedal to the metal there. This Axe Knight is a little bit of a nuisance. It's not dangerous because it does have hurt backing up that sleep, but it can slow you down for sure. And this is one of those spots where, as you pointed out earlier, Can-Am Surprise with that Silver Shield, they'll be breaking a lot of the sort of early stuff in Charlock, and therefore they can repel it. But with only 81 defense points, Surf and Turf only breaking wizards right now. They could repel those if they want to, but in order to do that, they neither need to use Fairy Water or cost themselves a heal more, so I don't expect we'll see them repel on their way through Charlock. It will not be of any benefit to them.
If only there was a way in co-op to have infinite fairy waters at the end.
Yeah, that's something.
Slamu down into the third basement floor. Meanwhile, Jeff did make his way to Cole, took out the Star Wyvern, is going to pick up the Silver Harp, so the Can-Am team does have all 3 of their quest items. Keep an eye on them as well, just in case something wild happens here with Surf and Turf on their dives.
Yeah, it bears pointing out, they do have doubles HP for sure. They have good enough defense that you would expect they will get some doubles. So they would need to lose, each of them, a couple of heal mores for that to happen. We do know there are red dragons down here, as demonstrated on Slamu's screen. So it's not out of the realm of possibility that something could go sideways here in the last stretch, but they are both making good progress through Charlock, although it should be pointed out that Slamu is going way faster, despite the fact that Nim entered first. Slamu's 3 floors ahead. He just blew him away.
Charlock volatility, even though they're on the same team, that perfectly represents what we see frequently in Dragon Warrior Randomizer. Just the encounter rate and the run luck really made a difference here.
It might be rubber banding a little bit here. Slamu's encountering a red dragon, and if he doesn't get away on this run, he's going to have to use a heal more here, so he will end up spending one. And that could come into play if Nim can catch up a little bit. Maybe Nim, if he keeps all of his resources, might be the one to take the fight instead, just because of that resources loss, but that will be kind of a call to make after they see what the spike is, I think.
Yeah, that's a very good point. I wonder what we're going to see here. Slamu likely to get through the spike first if he's going to hang out and make sure that Nim gets through with the additional heal more.
Slamu, though, makes quick work of the Stone Man and walks straight up to the Dragonlord. I think this will be his fight. Yeah, he's going to start talking, and I think Nim's just going to... he would lose the heal more there if he waited, so he's just going to outside now. And go to find some fairy water. I guess the closest shop would be Brecconary. Not far away
I think
from
so.
here.
Brecconary, right at the start. So we entered the DL2 fight. I didn't see if they loaded up on fairy waters to begin with. They didn't. The inventory is actually full of all kinds of interesting items, but they only need one slot for fairy waters if they're careful with menuing. Don't want to use wings or dragon scale in battle.
Yeah, I think they just collected a bunch of junk that was in the Dragon Lord's basement to just kind of laying around. So a bit short on fairy water at the moment.
You see Nim go into the fairy water shop, so they're not going to clear out their inventory. This is going to be interesting to see. Make sure the menuing is very careful, especially since fairy water's not the bottom item. There is a torch, which if they use that in battle, it's not necessarily the worst thing because it does deal 6 to 9 damage, but with them skirting so tight on heal mores, you don't want that to happen.
Yeah, you really want to see a double, and in fact... Surf and Turf just gets a double right there, and the fairy water throws so far have been great. 42 damage after 3 for Surf and Turf.
I agree with RG. If they get to the point where they're far enough along and the Dragon Lord has high hit points and they're guaranteed to finish or they're comfortable, I want to see that torch get thrown instead of the fairy water. That would be great.
Ooh, bad heal more there, but fortuitously a fairly low melee, so Slamu will still be able to throw fairy water on that one.
Ooh, really got lucky there, yeah.
Damage has tailed off a little bit, but I do have 94 with 4 heal mores remaining, so they are exceeding pace right now. It's looking pretty good.
That 10 didn't help, though.
It did not. I think the throws on average after that initial decent run have been kind of below average. Yeah, I've got 11-9, 11-9, 9-10, 11 in the last 6 throws, so that's well below average. So 115 though, and after this throw it's going to be 130, so they are still in really good shape here with 1 heal more left. They should get at least 4 more shots. I guess at least 3 more shots, but that should be enough on its own. 141 now, and then a double, so this one could do it. And does.
There it is! Let's see some GGs in chat for the team of Surf and Turf, Big Slamu, and Nimenva. Timer stops when the first member of the team goes through the text speaking with the king, which is Nimenva. Got an official time ending at 52 minutes and 9 seconds. GG's.
Yeah, very well done there by Surf and Turf. That was pretty clinical all around, I think. They kind of just played all the right notes and dispatched that seed pretty quickly. For a seed in which you had to dig armor out of Charlock, that's a pretty good time, and the seed helped a little bit too. Stats good throughout, but for the most part, I think what Metal Dream is saying in chat, 100% true. That speculative gold grind can be so powerful in co-op, and you just end up with that kind of big lead that they generated from that. So well done to them, and it looks like all Can-Am Surprise has to do is finish up their grind. They've got the rainbow drop, and they just need to finish up their grind and get armor out of Charlock, and they will be ready to go as well. We are joined by our race winners from Surf and Turf, Slamu and Nim. GG.
Thank you, Archfield. This this felt like a good one. This was an enjoyable run. Yeah, just things kind of came together. Nim and I have a fair amount of experience in this just from playing, and this one felt smooth and clean the whole way. So
I think those are probably the exact descriptors that I would use. I can't even really think of anything that went wrong that was just plain unlucky necessarily, or even really anything that you said, oh, they got super lucky there. It was just pretty clinical throughout and a very, very, very squeaky clean run.
yeah, I mean, looking back, there's some like micro optimizations in terms of had we gotten an extra couple thousand gold at the start, we would have been a little better off, or just little things. But I mean, every run is going to have something like that, and when you get into the chaotic co-op environment, you just that's just going to amplify itself. So as I was clearing mountain and getting down to those last 2 or 3 chests, I kept telling him, like, this is an armor and Sharlock, we're gonna get stuck with it. And the one thing that I'm probably not comfortable with still in this is the mixed up shuffled chests, just because I don't play it enough. And mid grave, I had to go grab my notes sheet with all the printed out maps. Luckily, I had it ready for Sharlock.
Yeah, just some early prep, that was all. Yeah, as you continued through this one, it seemed there were a lot of just kind of empty checks. Deep Grave ended up empty, Tablet ended up empty, Stones ended up empty. At what point did you start preparing as though this is probably armor and Sharlock, we're going to have to dig this out of here?
I think as soon as Grave was cleared, we had the middle of Swamp and Cantlin, but we still had 2 items outstanding, or 3 items outstanding even, I think, or whatever it was. It was before Mountain. We were both thinking it, and as soon as I'm knocking off, I had 6 or 7 chests in Mountain, but only one key item. So you had that false hope all the way up until the end. But luckily, that dive wasn't that bad for armor. It was in a traditional location, quote unquote. So felt nice to not have to worry about finding it somewhere buried and like the end of the endless path that nobody ever thinks about or something like that. So
yeah, Nim kind of got stuck with all of those out of the way checks, I feel like.
You know what? Nim did not get stuck with those out of the way checks.
I got to go straight down Sharlock, so it was beautiful for me.
Why do you think Nim got stuck with those checks?
I'm guessing because Nim knows where the chests are.
I didn't have to do Grave, I didn't have to do Mountain. So I didn't do any out of the way check.
I was just saying, I did all the checks.
Did you?
I did Mountain and Grave and all those things, yeah.
I did all the turn-ins.
Huh.
I think I know what happened.
You switched on me, didn't you?
Sprites?
I'm gonna throw a fit. You switched sprites. Oh gosh. I was like, I put them in the wrong spot, and I was like, I didn't think I put them in the wrong spot, but they're not using this. They're using opposite sprites. Oh my gosh, this is exactly the sort of thing that I would expect from both of you. Oh gosh.
Oh man, that brought way more joy than it should have.
That's deeply funny, and I appreciate it very much. But when the race started, I went, oh no, I gotta switch the video. I put them in the wrong spot. But I was sure I cropped that right, and I was like so upset. I was like, I can't believe I cropped them wrong off the same video. And then both of you were talking like stuff didn't happen. I'm like, what are you talking about? I was watching the race. Oh my gosh.
There's one hint that we left on there is that I use input display and Nim doesn't. So
yeah,
not that I'd expect you to ever catch it, but yeah. And, instead of Nim and I talking strategy before the race, we're both just like, how can we cause a kerfluffle in Archfield's mind? That's all we wanted to do. So
mission accomplished.
Winning the race was secondary to that, right?
Oh, clearly.
Well,
That
Don't
is
worry,
very true.
I'll be back to Purple Mario before the next seed. Don't worry. Or will I?
Well, we'll see, I guess.
Are they still looking for the armor?
Yeah, Can-Am Surprise, looking for the armor right now, trying to make their way through Charlock. They do have level 15, and interestingly enough, Joof on Strength HP. If they do find the armor, he might be able to win without Fairy Water. It's basically Fairy Water equivalent right now, 133 attack power. But just kind of depends on which route they take. I think they're both going... Camion went center staircase, and I think... I'm not quite sure which way Joof is heading at and which checks they've already made, but... Yeah, you guys had a fairly commanding lead. That opening gold grind, you mentioned that you ended up not probably taking quite as much gold as might have been useful to you, but it still worked out really well. That early flame sword just vaulted you to a fairly substantial early experience lead that you never really came close to relinquishing.
Well, when we did the gold grind, and he couldn't find a talent at first, and he's like, just leave. So I left, and then he finds the 2 talents.
The first town was okay. I mean, the first town was a payoff, right? I mean, it was Copper Sword and a full plate, and I'm like, oh, that's reasonable. And I walk into Breckenary and see the flame sword. I'm like, Nim, go back now.
So then, without magic points, because I forgot to heal my magic points, I had to get those 3 gold chests, and it was like almost dying.
Yeah, the start of these things are so chaotic.
Even with that struggle and having to slow grind to get to the flame sword, that worked out a lot better than what the Can-Am Surprise team ended up with. They ended up foregoing the initial gold grind. They didn't go back up to the throne room to activate that. And then they were thinking about the gold grind, but once they found Swamp Cave, but it took repeated attempts to get into Swamp Cave and clear both chests before taking the death. There was a stone man that just kept wrecking Camion over and over. So even with the setback of not doing the initial gold grind, it was even further setback by not cooperating by setting it up out of Swamp Cave. Meanwhile, the two of you were grinding away and continuing an exploration, and really never were close to being behind in the race.
Yeah, I think a lot of people don't think about the fact with basically 1.5 times as much experience to gain, but the same amount of exploration to do, right? Prioritizing the ability to gain experience in co-op is way more important than any sort of exploration. So, like, that's my thing. If I can get a weapon and it takes us 3 or 4 minutes to do that, that's 2 people then that will be clubbing with a bigger club for the rest of the game, and a 4-minute deficit will quickly disappear. So.
And with the random chest locations, you have more potential opportunities for chests in Tantagel to have gold and set up that initial gold grind to begin with, rather than just be guaranteed the 4 normally in the throne room. Sometimes it's completely overloaded in Tantagel. You've got 4 or 5 in the treasury, and then you've got 1 or 2 in the back, and you just have more chests than you know what to do with.
Yeah, definitely a good one though. I mean, I love this format. I wish we had some more teams, but I think 10 teams is a good number to kind of do this in an interim in between this and the standard tournament. So I'm looking forward to finishing this thing up in the next week or 2, so that we can all turn our focus to the massive standard tournament we're gonna have this summer. But it's been good. I don't even know who are we playing this week now.
Hey, no worry about that, Slamu. Artorias and I will make sure to finish off your co-op tournament here so you can focus on summer tournament. We'll take care of that for you, bud.
Good thing I'm just focusing on the co-op tournament.
Priorities
I
are in
don't need
line.
to focus on the co-op tournament to beat Artorias and Destiny. Say the only people I was worried about were Wraithchild and Archfield and Mand. Destiny and Artorias are just free wins at this point.
See, I don't know if you're taking humorous, playful jabs, or if that is a straight analysis, because either are valid.
It is all in jest. I assure you. I am scared. I'm scared to death of Wraithchild, though.
They do definitely feel like the team to beat at this point.
Yeah. Hopefully we can play tomorrow so we can beat them on Canada Day, just to add insult to injury. But I don't know if that's going to happen.
I mean, tomorrow's my best day.
Well, the other semifinal isn't taking place until a week from now, so it's entirely possible that she'll be the ones finishing first.
Wait, there's more teams than Wraithchild left on that side of the bracket?
Yeah, go figure.
Who would have thunk?
Yeah.
That's okay. Then if we win the finals, you're gonna get pushed into like August because I'll be out of town. So. We'll figure it out.
So is Destiny free tomorrow?
I'm not Nim, so we'll figure.
Oh, I
this
thought
out.
you were.
No, I was joking just because I wanted to beat a Canadian team on Canada Day.
Tomorrow's my only day off, so we'll have to figure something out.
You and I could just async the co-op. We'll just like play solo and then put ours together. That totally works, right?
I'm sure that's how it works. Yeah, it should be fine. You can play by email.
Hey, correspondence Dragon Warrior is just as good.
Yeah.
The Can-Am Surprise team really struggling with Sharlock here, much more so than Slamu and Nimenvad did. Dreff is down in the headed towards the judges table area, which we did see on your peak working through the second basement. You could see that there wasn't a chest there. And Kamion had run out of MP and is back in and already back down to 34 MP. Was taking additional enemies and got up to level 16 at this point as well. And we can see 139 hit points, 111 MP, 136 attack power for Dreff plus the Death Necklace. Once they find Erdrick's armor, they're going to just obliterate the Dragon Lord.
Yeah, Dragon Lord is cooked, one way or the other in this seed, whether in being basted by fairy water or being skewered by Erdrick's sword, will not last very long.
Yeah, our dive was not a guarantee. Honestly, Nim lost to Healmore, and 10 Healmore is just not a lock. But we got 2 doubles in there that pushed us well above, and then I think Nim fairy watered pretty decently. I don't know where the Dragon Lord finished out HP wise, but that was not 100% dive.
Yeah,
we were discussing that as it was occurring. We're curious, as he lost the Healmore and was first to the Dragon Lord, was there any consideration on waiting before entering the Dragon Lord fight to see if the other player was able to make it to the Dragon Lord with the additional Healmore?
I was in the middle of a red dragon fight that I couldn't get away from, and I ended up at 24 HP, so I would have had to burn a Healmore anyways.
Okay, it seemed like that might have been the case. The timing of that was right there where that was happening, but it also seemed like it may have been initiating the Dragon Lord fight before that fight ended up being a guaranteed loss of a heal more.
Making it through the stone man pretty easily and just needing to use an herb to get full back up, I felt pretty confident.
Yeah, Nim could always run from DL1 as well, right? Nobody, not nobody, but it's not a common thought because you usually don't want to run from DL1, but running from DL1 is not that difficult.
Also, if it gets bad enough, I just go into the DL2 fight and let him kill me, and it's the same thing as going out and coming back in.
That's true too. The no return level 15 flummoxed me for a bit, but we get that wings right at the end, so.
We were really hoping for the opportunity for that torch in your inventory to be thrown on the Dragon Lord. We were saying if it gets down to like 160 hit points and Dragon Lord isn't dead, they'd better throw that torch.
we forgot to count.
For what it's worth, I had 157 after that last 16. I do not know.
Oh, okay. Then we don't need. Yeah, then.
Yeah, I think we're fine.
Then we were not in torch range.
No.
So that was wholly intentional then.
Yeah.
I still had another hill more. I might have thrown the torch anyway just to try.
Yeah, but I don't think either one of us knew where we were at.
Can-Am Surprise does have the armor now, and we've got basically simultaneous dives from Camion and Juf.
Yeah, I do not like a one inventory fairy water. That was not fun on my side to manage, and I'm sure it wasn't fun on Nim's side either.
Looks like Can-Am Surprise might be in the same boat. They've got just the one fairy water slot at the moment. But then again, if Juf is the one to get there, then he doesn't need fairy water to begin with.
I would say at this point, neither one of them needs the fairy water.
Yeah, I mean, 120 magic points. Yeah, Camion does not really need it either.
And they have the death necklace, so Camion can even throw on the death necklace and get up to 139. Interesting how up until that moment the two were almost lockstep as they were diving through Charlock, even having almost simultaneous encounters along the way. Now Camion running into some trouble, gets away. We did think it was entertaining, mentioned it previously, where the team member who entered Charlock first was like 3 floors behind at one point along the way, and we commented, even interesting to see that as it's happening, even though they're co-op and playing together and on the same team and not racing each other per se. It was perfect representation of the volatility of Charlock between the encounters and run luck that happens along the way, of how quickly positioning can change in a Charlock dive.
Yeah, that was, I mean, Nim and I were joking about it. I'm like, Nim, I'm coming for you, as I'm rounding the diamond floor as he's hitting the basement. I'm like, this is insane. Like, we went in, like, I mean, I was half a screen ahead, and then all of a sudden, I'm 2.5 floors behind, I think. I mean, yeah, the run luck is a thing, the encounter luck is a thing, and when you're taking micro variants in that little 6-minute period that you're in Charlock, right, it's massive. So co-op is fun that way. It obviously adds to the level of volatility to standard that a lot of people don't enjoy. I do really appreciate the amount of work that admins put in this year to work on that for the summer tournament, and it might not be everybody's perfect solution, but I think the alt run with the 4th guarantee is going to help with some frustration around Charlock dives this year, so I'm looking forward to that. And thank you to the admin team for the amount of work they do behind the scenes to make things like that, make decisions like that are not easy, that are hopefully the best for our community.
Well said, Slamu. Thank you for that. We see now Jeff is actually just passed by Camion, who was like 3 floors behind just a moment ago. Speaking of that Charlock volatility, They're both on the Stoneman spike, should be able to get through this. I wonder if they'll both fight the Dragon Lord. I don't know if I've ever seen that. I've never played that with co-op of simultaneous Dragon Lord fights. We may see that unless Jeff, after this, returns back home, because it looks like Camion is going to be getting into our Dragon Lord fight here.
Yep, and his,
Jeff taking a step forward, finds a red dragon.
Yeah, his dive has not been great. Camion even got detoured a little bit on the Charlock path there for a while, and still kind of similar to Nim and Slamu's experience in Charlock, they still just ended up at the spike tile at the same time.
I haven't seen this come up. If obviously Camion used the Death Necklace there, but if Jeff had used the Death Necklace in the middle of the DL1 fight, would it have applied to Camion heading into DL2 without having to lose the turn to put it on?
No. So the Death Necklace is an interesting case. It operates independently, and you can actually... Both players can use the same Death Necklace, but if you use the Death Necklace, it only triggers for you. And you can even have two death necklaces. We've actually taken to calling them Death's Necklace, as though that's the plural. But the idea is you can have two, and you only need to use one, so you can actually just kind of sell one of them for free. But yeah, it only takes effect for the person who uses it.
Huh. So you're saying that Nim and I could both fit our head inside of the Death Necklace?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And you could
that's a challenge. I mean, this is one of those. I mean, is the Death Necklace like one of those like super long clocks like Flavor Flav has? Like,
I was going to say, yeah.
Put it in there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, is it size for the Dragon Lord?
Yeah, it's a Flavor Flav clock, and it's just very heavy, and that's why you lose so many hit points when you put it on.
But then where does the strength come from? I mean, does it come from the strength of Flavor Flav?
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I thought that was obvious.
Oh, sorry. I should have. My mistake. That was a silly question.
It really was. I don't know what you were thinking.
I don't either. Man, I'm sorry.
It's okay. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to be so hard on you either. It was fine.
It's justifiable after what we did to you about 25 minutes ago. So.
I shouldn't have fallen for it. I knew that I'd cropped it right in the first place. I have only myself to blame. But the Dragon Lord, on Can-Am Surprise's side, is done for. And with that, our race has finished. Can-Am Surprise coming in with an official racetime.gg time of 1 hour, 16 minutes, 15 seconds. If you haven't done so already, please get out your GGs. But that is a wrap for the semifinal. Or, pardon me, for the quarterfinal. Semifinal is yet to come. But the semifinals are now set.
We'll see here in a moment if Druff and or Camion want to drop in and share their thoughts here. And with that, I see Druff has entered. Looks like you're muted at the moment. Once you're unmuted with push to talk, GG's on finishing this puppy up. And here's Camion. GG's on finishing this puppy up.
Thanks. Oh my goodness. For a first run, that was absolutely bonkers, I have to say.
There's a few things to unravel here. First of which, the biggest difference maker between the two teams in this race was the initial gold grind at the start. The gold grind that you guys got going out of Swamp Cave eventually. The Surf and Turf team got that gold grind going right out of the gates by stepping back up into the throne room and back out to get the 3 other chests initiated, and was able to grind some gold. Not quite as much as they would have liked, but enough for a full plate and nearly a flame sword, and that allowed them to start grinding and take on bigger enemies and take an experience lead that they never fell behind on.
Wow, not bad. Yeah, we were trying to figure out how exactly to set that up, and GF had the idea to do that once we got to the swamp cave, and that actually worked pretty well with the 2 bonus chests being in there regardless. But that's props to you guys for getting that as quickly as you did. Wow.
Yeah, I'm impressed that they managed to make it to the towns with all that money, because there were some pretty nasty enemies on the way to Breckenridge and Rin and Garenham.
Yeah, we didn't deserve that walk, but I'm not complaining about the fact that we got there. GG's, guys.
Oh, GG.
GG.
GG's.
Yeah, we struggled a bit at the end also to get the armor. I'm guessing it was definitely not a single dive for you guys either, I think, right?
No, that was I did all the ancillary stuff. Nim did the first big dive and found the armor, and then we both started over after a quick stop off and Tantagel refill.
Not bad. Yeah, GF and I were going back and forth as to who was going to go for the additional chest there. I had a map up on one of my side monitors, and I'm starting to wonder if that didn't hinder us at all. Like GF going for it first, when I probably should have said, maybe I ought to do that just to see if we could speed things up. But he did grab a few things, which is great.
Yeah, I found the death necklace and the fire's ring, which
yeah,
or something.
Yeah, I mean, without the death necklace, it probably would have taken even longer to go to the DL.
Well, congrats, guys. And who are you facing again on the Rex round?
I asked the same question. Apparently, it's some washed-up team of Destiny and Artorias that'll be free. So,
never heard about those guys.
I mean, they must be fairly good depending on how their last race went. But yeah, maybe we'll find out.
Thanks, by the way, to Destiny and Artorias for the help on the stream. Much appreciated.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you, guys. This was epic either way.
Oh, it was a great time. Thank you both for both teams for participating in the tournament and having the race tonight. It was awesome to have a doubleheader here on the DW Randomizer channel, and great to have the co-op tournament trudging along and having a lot of fun. It's great. Normally my partner and I enjoy playing the seeds and seeing what happens, and occasionally watching some others play the seed of the week. But to see all these groups come out and participate, especially Jeff and Kami on a team we haven't seen before. Want to reflect a bit on the co-op experience, playing co-op together and playing through the seeds and the tournament?
Well, on my part, it was very fun. Obviously, it's the first time I played some co-op action. I found it always super, very interesting to watch and to hear the players talk as they as they walk through the seeds. But being on the other end is a whole other experience, and it's just as fun. Obviously, I'm happy to have Camion as my teammate, because it's also his first co-op experience, but I think I'll let you tell him about his experience, I guess.
Yeah, this was definitely my first time doing any sort of tournament setup. I mean, that was part of the reason why I suggested we call our co-op team Can-Am Surprise. He's Canadian, I'm American, and the surprise is I'm actually in a tournament for once. It's always one thing being behind the cameras, but being in front of them is something different altogether. And I was personally afraid that was going to be like a little bit of a hindrance to Juaf, because I know he's got lots of experience. So I wanted to at least be able to be just like a like give him a little bit of help, so it wasn't just like him dragging me across the finish line, anything like that. But I mean, I had far more fun than I thought I would, and it was just, this whole thing was just a blast all around. And I'm blessed to have him as a co-op partner, and it was just absolutely nuts altogether.
Yeah, Cammy, I mean, obviously seeing you, I mean, on the back end of things for the last, 4 years almost, and all the support you've given, not just this community, but every other community, to be a part of your first ever race time race, is an absolute treasure. So thank you for everything you've done for all the different randomizer communities that you support, and I'm glad to have been a part of your first race on this side of the fence, and to be part of this. So thank you guys for being a part of this. It's been a blast.
My pleasure. Thank you for racing against us. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah, seconded. I'm really glad to hear that you had a good time, and welcome to the first time Live Racer Club, Camion. I can tell you from personal experience, my first race was also in a tournament. I had never raced before, but that was an SRL race. So far back that I don't even care to think about it. But I'm glad you had a good time, and I hope everybody watching tonight had a good time as well. We're going to wrap this one up momentarily. Does anybody else have anything to say before we get out of here? The semifinals are now set up. Surf and Turf versus Distorious Duo. Race Fast Safe Car, that's myself and Secret Agent Mand, versus Wraithchild, Metal Dream, and Dragolf. Get a true conference finals, but anything else before we get out of here?
Go fast car.
I'm sorry. There you go, Nim. The only thing I've got is Camion. This does require that you now participate in the summer tournament as well. So, welcome to being stuck on the racing side of things forever.
Well, I will say I was giving it some thought. I mean, if nothing else, maybe I'll look into it. I mean, if I had this much fun just doing this with UF, I mean, you know what? Maybe I'll give it a shot for the thrill of it. Just see how far I go. What the heck?
You can at least run the asyncs and see how you feel.
Very true. Yeah, I think maybe later this week I may pop one into my emulator and see how it works.
I thanked Artorias and Destiny earlier, but I definitely have to thank RG and Archfield and everyone on the Restream team, and of course my teammates and opponents. I'm very happy to play with you. It's always a pleasure, and I hope to do it again soon.
Alright, so with that, please keep an eye on the DWR Discord for everything going on. Please, if you have not done so already and you're inclined to do so, please follow our runners as well, all of whom are very talented and all of whom provide a great deal of support to the community, or important members of our community. So I appreciate that they were here and in this event and continue to be in this event. So thanks to all of you. Destiny, it was a pleasure. Thanks for joining me in the booth for this one.
Likewise, Archfield. GG's, everyone.
We're going to send it to... We're going to raid out of here. I'm going to double check real quick before I send the raid. But I think Fred is still in the middle of a viewer-requested link to the past randomizer seed. So we're going to send this Fred's way. F. Coughlin, a wonderful streamer, as well as the author of Zelda 1 Randomizer. If you haven't checked him out before, it's always a very pleasant watch. So, on behalf of everybody here on the Restream team, and everyone involved with this tournament, thanks so much for watching. I'm Marchfield. We hope to see you back here for the semifinals.